Welcome to the Dinar Daily. In the intricate and often volatile world of currency and international economics, moments of genuine structural change are exceptionally rare. However, an event has unfolded in Iraq this October that demands the full attention of observers and analysts across the globe. A landmark development has emerged, not from speculation or rumor, but from a concrete policy achievement that could fundamentally alter the nation's economic trajectory for years to come. For a long time, the global community has watched Iraq, waiting for a definitive signal that the country was prepared to move beyond its history of internal division and build a truly cohesive financial system. That signal has now arrived in the form of a complex yet powerful tripartite agreement. This is not a minor adjustment. It is a foundational breakthrough that addresses some of the most persistent obstacles that have hindered Iraq's progress, potentially rewriting the narrative of its economic future and setting a new course for the decade ahead. The core of this significant development, which has been dubbed the October Agreement, is a meticulously crafted framework involving three of the most influential entities in Iraq's economic landscape. These are the federal government based in Baghdad, the Kurdistan Regional Government (KRG) located in Erbil, and the State Organization for Marketing of Oil, more commonly known as SOMO. The historical relationship between these three bodies has been characterized by years of disagreement and friction, particularly concerning the management and distribution of the nation's immense oil wealth. These prolonged disputes have frequently led to political standoffs, economic paralysis, and the loss of billions of dollars in potential state revenue. Now, in a move that many considered improbable just a short time ago, these powerful players have converged to establish a unified economic pact, signaling a new era of cooperation that prioritizes national interest over regional discord. This tripartite deal represents far more than a simple resolution to long-standing arguments. It fundamentally redefines the operational mechanics of Iraq's most critical industry. At its heart, the agreement establishes a clear and comprehensive system for managing the country's oil resources and, just as importantly, for distributing the vast profits generated from them. In practical terms, the federal government in Baghdad and the leadership in Kurdistan have finally reached a durable consensus on the highly contentious issue of oil revenue sharing. Simultaneously, SOMO has successfully navigated and resolved major outstanding financial disputes with several international oil companies that are essential to the country's production capacity. This newfound clarity and unity enable Iraq to present a single, coordinated front to the global energy market, transforming its image from a nation hampered by internal rivalries into a unified and reliable oil exporting power. To fully appreciate the gravity of this moment, it is essential to consider the historical context that has shaped Iraq's economy for nearly 2 decades. The nation's post-war narrative has been largely dominated by deep-seated disagreements over the control and export of its petroleum resources. The Kurdistan region, which possesses significant oil reserves of its own, frequently pursued an independent path, selling crude oil directly to international markets, without the explicit approval or coordination of the central government in Baghdad. This unilateral approach inevitably created a persistent state of tension and deep-seated mistrust between the regional and federal authorities. In response, Baghdad often retaliated by withholding crucial federal funding and budget allocations from Kurdistan, a tactic that precipitated severe budget crises, economic instability, and uncertainty within the region, creating a detrimental cycle of action and reaction. The result of this ongoing friction was a perpetual cycle of disruption that cast a long shadow over Iraq's economic potential. Both sides persistently accused the other of violating constitutional and legal frameworks, leading to numerous legal challenges that only served to deepen the divide. This environment of unpredictability and unresolved conflict created a significant barrier to progress, discouraging the kind of large-scale, long-term foreign investment necessary for rebuilding and modernizing the nation's infrastructure. Potential investors were hesitant to commit capital to a country where the fundamental rules governing its primary source of revenue were constantly in flux. Now, for the first time in many years, a formal framework has been established that aligns both governments under a single, shared national strategy, promising to break this damaging cycle and pave the way for a more stable and prosperous future. Under the terms of this new, comprehensive agreement, all oil revenues are set to be channeled through official federal accounts, creating a centralized and transparent system for managing the nation's wealth. In a crucial reciprocal move, the Kurdistan region will receive its designated budget allocation directly and predictably from Baghdad's national treasury. This mechanism is a monumental step toward fostering greater financial transparency, accountability, and a renewed sense of national unity. For Iraq, this development transcends mere bureaucratic procedure. It symbolizes a pivotal turning point in national cooperation and governance. The New Deal holds the promise of predictable oil exports, which in turn supports the creation of a stable federal budget and helps to cultivate the renewed investor confidence that the country so critically needs to unlock its full economic potential. The timing of this landmark agreement is particularly significant and adds another layer to its profound importance. The pact was finalized just as Iraqi officials began the intensive process of preparing the nation's fiscal budget for the upcoming year, 2026. This means that, for the first time in nearly a decade, Iraq's national budget will be constructed upon a foundation of realistic, unified, and verifiable revenue figures. The era of speculative projections and fragmented financial data, which often rendered previous budgets unreliable, appears to be coming to an end. Leading economists and financial analysts are already describing this development as the most stable and credible budget foundation that Iraq has witnessed in many years, marking a crucial transition from financial ambiguity to fiscal clarity and discipline. When a nation's budget is a true reflection of accurate data and is underpinned by an equitable system of revenue sharing, it naturally becomes a beacon for foreign investment. International investors and financial institutions prioritize stability and predictability above almost all other factors. With this agreement, they now see a system that is far less susceptible to collapse under the weight of internal political disputes. This newfound structural integrity could have a far-reaching and positive, long-term impact on Iraq's overall financial stability. Consequently, this stability is intrinsically linked to the future strength and perception of the Iraqi dinar, as a country's currency is ultimately a reflection of its economic health, governance, and its ability to manage its resources effectively and predictably for the benefit of all its citizens. Let us now delve deeper into why this particular development is being viewed as such a momentous event. Within the global currency and forex communities, the perceived value and stability of the Iraqi dinar are inextricably linked to a trinity of core factors: the performance of its oil sector, the size of its foreign currency reserves, and its credibility on the international stage. In the past, periods of internal chaos, political uncertainty, or unresolved contractual disputes with oil partners directly weakened Iraq's capacity to accumulate foreign reserves. This, in turn, eroded confidence in the dinar. This new agreement directly addresses these foundational weaknesses by creating a more orderly and predictable economic environment, which is the bedrock upon which currency strength is built. Under the provisions of this new framework, the government in Baghdad has made significant strides in clearing substantial payment backlogs owed to several major international oil companies. These firms, which had been owed billions of dollars for their operations, were previously hesitant to commit to further expansion. With these long-standing debts now being resolved and their operational contracts secured, these companies are better positioned to ramp up production and invest more heavily in modernizing and expanding Iraq's vital oil infrastructure. Over the long term, this is expected to lead to a tangible boost in oil output, a corresponding increase in national revenues, and ultimately, a significant rise in Iraq's foreign reserves, which serve as the fundamental backbone supporting the strength and stability of any national currency. The intrinsic link between the stability of a nation's primary export commodity and the Strength of its currency is a fundamental principle of economics that cannot be overstated. This tripartite agreement serves to directly reinforce and solidify that critical connection for Iraq. To truly grasp the magnitude of this moment, it is helpful to recall the economic climate of 2017. That year, the Kurdistan region's decision to hold an independence referendum triggered a severe political and economic crisis with the central government in Baghdad. In a swift and decisive response, federal authorities imposed a blockade on Kurdish oil exports and assumed control of key border crossings, an action that sent powerful shockwaves throughout Iraq's already fragile economy. Demonstrating the dire consequences of political disunity, the fallout from the 2017 crisis was immediate and severe. Overall oil exports from the nation plummeted, critical state revenues vanished almost overnight, and the fabric of national trust was left profoundly tattered. The event served as a stark reminder of how internal political disputes could inflict deep and lasting damage on the country's economic well-being. Then, just 2 years later, in 2019, another wave of economic instability emerged when several major international oil companies, frustrated by persistent unpaid debts and contractual uncertainties, threatened to significantly scale back their operations. The situation became so precarious that a major industry player, ExxonMobil, actually reduced its presence in Iraq, leaving billions of dollars of potential economic growth and development unrealized. Each of these crises progressively weakened Iraq's financial standing in the eyes of the world. Now, with the new tripartite agreement firmly in place, robust mechanisms have been integrated to proactively prevent these types of damaging standoffs from recurring in the future. For the first time, the country has a clearly defined and legally binding pathway for resolving disputes before they have the chance to escalate and inflict harm upon the national economy. This is a monumental shift from a reactive to a proactive approach to governance. One of the most compelling features of this agreement is its solid legal and institutional structure. According to statements from Iraqi officials, the tripartite deal has been completely formalized and integrated within Iraq's official governmental framework. Ensuring its legitimacy and longevity, this formalization means the agreement is not merely an informal understanding or a temporary political compromise that could unravel at the first sign of pressure. Instead, it stands as an enforceable national policy with the full weight of the state behind it. Crucially, the pact has received the official endorsement of both the federal parliament in Baghdad and the Kurdistan Regional Parliament in Erbil. This dual legislative backing ensures that compliance will be rigorously monitored and that any disagreements will be handled through systematic and predetermined channels. This provides international investors and global observers with a level of assurance and predictability that was conspicuously absent in previous years, fostering a climate of trust and reliability. When a country consistently demonstrates a commitment to the rule of law and the consistent enforcement of its economic agreements, global confidence in its markets naturally begins to grow. This is precisely the kind of institutional credibility that Iraq has been striving to build as it seeks to position itself as a dependable trade partner and an attractive destination for long-term foreign investment. It is this burgeoning confidence, rooted in tangible policy reform, that many currency analysts believe could provide the Iraqi dinar with new and sustainable momentum moving forward. A stable and lawful economic environment is the fertile ground from which currency strength can organically develop over time. Reflecting the nation's improving fundamental health, nevertheless, it remains critically important to maintain a balanced perspective and acknowledge that Iraq's journey toward complete economic stability is an ongoing process with many challenges still ahead. The nation has endured decades of profound political turbulence, deep-seated regional rivalries, and pervasive issues with corruption. It is also true that similar agreements have been attempted in the past, only to falter due to shifting political alliances or changes in leadership. However, many seasoned experts argue that the circumstances surrounding this particular deal are different. The financial stakes are now so extraordinarily high for all parties involved that the Incentive to abandon the agreement is significantly diminished. Every key stakeholder stands to benefit economically from its success. This powerful alignment of interests is what makes the October agreement arguably more durable and resilient than any similar initiative Iraq has seen in recent history. The Kurdistan region gains the financial security of a guaranteed and predictable share of federal revenue, which is essential for its own stability and development. The central government in Baghdad achieves full sovereign control over national oil exports and ensures compliance with international market standards, strengthening its authority. Meanwhile, the international oil companies that are vital to the sector's growth gain the payment security and operational predictability they need to justify long-term investment. This symbiotic relationship, where success for one party is linked to the success of the others, creates a powerful incentive for cooperation and sustainability for those who closely follow the Iraqi dinar. This confluence of positive developments is particularly noteworthy. The strength of a national currency is ultimately built upon three foundational pillars: broad economic stability, robust foreign reserves, and the confidence of both domestic and international investors. With its oil revenues now unified under a single framework and its most significant political divisions being systematically addressed, Iraq is finally in a position to foster significant growth in all three of these critical areas. The Central Bank of Iraq has already been engaged in a concerted effort to build up its foreign currency reserves, and with a more predictable stream of oil income, that vital effort can now be significantly accelerated. A stronger and more substantial reserve base provides direct support to the dinar, making the currency more resilient to external shocks and more stable over the long term. It also transmits a powerful and unambiguous signal to global financial markets that Iraq is genuinely turning a corner and embracing sound economic management. It is crucial to understand that this does not imply the possibility of a sudden revaluation or an overnight transformation of the currency's status. What it does signify, however, is that the country's underlying economic foundation is becoming more solid and reliable than it has been in many years. This is the substantive, fundamental change that gives rise to the description of this October breakthrough as a true game changer for the nation's future. The positive ripple effects of this agreement are already becoming visible as international investors are beginning to take renewed notice of the opportunities within Iraq. Since the official announcement of the deal, several multinational corporations have reportedly shown fresh interest in exploring ventures, not only in the energy sector but also in crucial areas like infrastructure development, technology, and manufacturing. New investment proposals are actively being discussed, and according to various reports, economic delegations from several countries have scheduled exploratory meetings in both Baghdad and Erbil for the latter part of 2025. This renewed confidence could potentially trigger a significant wave of capital inflow that would further strengthen Iraq's foreign exchange position and bolster its overall economic recovery. This influx of new investment carries with it a cascade of positive economic consequences. More investment leads to more job creation for the Iraqi people, higher overall productivity across various sectors, and ultimately, greater tax revenues for the government. All of these outcomes are exceptionally positive indicators for a developing economy working to achieve sustainable growth. For the first time in a very long time, the international conversation about Iraq is shifting. It is moving away from a singular focus on the country's political struggles and toward a more optimistic discussion about its vast potential as a rapidly emerging economic player within the Middle East. If this positive momentum can be sustained, the long-term implications for the Iraqi dinar could be truly profound. The timing of this internal breakthrough also provides Iraq with a rare and valuable strategic advantage on the global stage. The international oil market is currently undergoing major structural shifts, with global demand steadily recovering and prices stabilizing after several years of intense volatility. As one of the world's leading oil producers, A politically and economically unified Iraq is now in a much stronger position to plan and execute its energy policies with a newfound sense of unity and confidence. A coordinated export policy translates directly into fewer production delays, smoother logistical operations, and more consistent and predictable revenue streams for the national treasury, all of which are highly valued by the international community. This level of consistency is precisely what international markets and credit rating agencies look for when evaluating a nation's economic health and, by extension, its currency. When a country's primary source of income becomes more predictable, and its financial obligations are consistently met, the common result is an improvement in its sovereign credit ratings and lower borrowing costs on the international market. These factors help to create a virtuous economic cycle that benefits both the government through better financing options and private investors through reduced risk. It all begins with the type of foundational political cooperation that is now being demonstrated through this historic October agreement, which sets the stage for a more prosperous economic future. Many seasoned observers are justifiably calling this pivotal development Iraq's economic reset moment. It represents a point in time where years of accumulated internal tension have finally given way to a more pragmatic and coordinated approach to national progress. The agreement is not merely about oil and revenue. It is about the difficult but essential work of building a new framework for national unity and rebuilding institutional trust. For years, Baghdad and Kurdistan have often operated more like competing economies rather than constituent parts of a single nation. Now, for the first time, they possess a shared and mutually agreed upon roadmap for economic growth, which is a vital prerequisite for any long-term national success. This renewed spirit of cooperation is critically important not just for currency watchers, but for the millions of ordinary Iraqi citizens whose daily lives depend on government stability for employment, education, healthcare, and public infrastructure. When the government functions smoothly and state revenues flow evenly and transparently throughout the country, citizens are the ultimate beneficiaries. They experience improved public services, greater economic opportunities, and stronger local economies. That represents the profound long-term promise of this agreement. It transcends being a simple investor story and becomes a national stability story. For the Iraqi dinar, that narrative of stability and shared prosperity is the only true foundation for real, lasting, and sustainable value. So, the crucial question now becomes, what happens next? Over the coming months, analysts and observers worldwide will be meticulously monitoring several key indicators to gauge the success and durability of this new arrangement. First and foremost will be Iraq's official oil export data. If export volumes continue to rise steadily under this new, unified framework, it will serve as powerful confirmation that the system is functioning as intended. Second, the international community will be closely scrutinizing the details of Iraq's forthcoming 2026 federal budget. A budget that is transparently built upon the realistic and unified revenue expectations established by this agreement would be an exceptionally strong signal that the government is committed to fiscal discipline and good governance. Furthermore, all eyes will be on the periodic updates from the Central Bank of Iraq regarding the status of its foreign reserves. Any officially reported increase in these reserves would provide tangible evidence that the enhanced oil revenue is being managed effectively and is being successfully converted into foundational economic strength. Finally, official statements from influential international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank will be watched with great interest. Positive commentary and endorsements from these prestigious institutions could significantly boost international confidence even further, drawing more attention from global investors who are constantly searching for new and promising emerging market opportunities. This external validation would serve as a powerful catalyst for Iraq's continued economic reintegration into the global financial system.